what appealed to you about this project, and how did it come to you?
Well, there was so much that appealed to me. I read the script, and I have a wonderful relationship with my agent. I've been with him for, since I was like 17, and so I think at this point he knows the kind of roles that I'm attracted to and what I'll like. And so when this came my way, I read it and I loved it, and I actually I wasn't familiar with it as one of Hemingway's works. I think like a lot of people weren't, and I read the book right away, and I just loved it. I mean, the book makes me cry. I mean, even when I think about it to this day. I actually was rereading it the other day before coming out to New York and seeing the film again, and I don't know. I think a lot of it is even it touches me on a level that I can't even fully understand. I feel like not only is it a beautiful story and a book that everyone should read, and there's so much to be said about relationships and just people finding themselves in general, but with Catherine, I feel like as being a woman myself, and even though I'm living in the 21st century, and this takes place in 1926. There's a lot of struggles that we as women still go through, and I felt for Catherine. I felt like I really connected with her in the sense that I've grown up as a woman having a certain appearance and feeling that people have always tried to categorize me or label me or expect certain reactions or personality out of me or from me that I haven't always connected with, I haven't always identified with. That there's been sides to me that I've wanted to experiment with, artistically, that have somewhat surprised people and shocked people, and so I think really just simply identifying with Catherine and the struggle to find your identity was something that I felt in tune with, really.
And Catherine is a tricky character, and I'm curious in your process to understanding the character. Did you, when you were looking at this character, did you try to look at it from your present perspective and bring a kind of present-day psychological understanding that maybe obviously wasn't available at the time when, 1926 when the character was first created, or did you try to just see it as when the character was created? Because, there's a certain tendency, I think, for some people if they look at the character, they might describe her as maybe an early kind of bipolar kind of character.
I mean, it really was a combination of the two. Obviously, I feel like I always am connected to the characters that I play, and I apply my own life experience to the story and to them. But, I did a lot of research also on the times, and so I think it was really a mix of the two of trying to understand, where she was coming from. But I feel like a lot of the struggles within herself and within her marriage and just relationships and, all of this are timeless in a sense, and they're universal. It's like it seems to me what a lot of people go through, really, and I think it's inherently this, and fundamentally this idea of really just simply trying to discover who you are, your identity, what makes you individual, what makes you happy. I think that those are, and those are the types of films that I'm drawn to. I feel like there's so much that's fascinating and complex about the human condition,
right.
And then you need to create aliens and space effects all the time, you know?
Right. Well,
these are the kinds
another
of stories that,
curious.
as an actor, I really identify with. I mean, I always love to challenge myself, and I always feel like I learn from and grow with the character that I play. And I mean, I feel like this is the most challenging thing I've worked on in my life and my career, and, you know, to completely surrender to all of those emotions and you know, in those moments. And I mean, that's something that, you know, without having a camera in front of me, that I've found difficult, just even being alone, you know?
Well, I'm curious. One aspect I'm curious about, and it's been prevalent in a lot of your work, and I'm sure you felt, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure at times maybe you felt they were probably just using this aspect of you, but you seem to be in control of it here, and that is your relationship to sexuality in film. And this started with, you know, American Beauty and so forth, and so I'm sure on certain times, I got to assume, as all actresses do, at certain times they feel objectified when making a film, but obviously here this is not the case. So I'm curious about how you, over the years, you've dealt with the sexuality of your character, particularly in the internet-infected world of the 21st century.
Oh yeah, right. I try to stay away from all of that. I mean, I don't fill my life with tabloids, and, you know, I actually read an interview that Reese Witherspoon gave years ago, saying that she just doesn't look at me that. She's like, I don't read my reviews, you know? And it's like, I mean, I feel like you can very easily, not only in this business, but in this world, you can lose your mind. I mean, to me, I feel like I was given a choice. You know, I can either choose to let that consume me and you know, turn into a cancer within my brain, or I can work on living my life and figuring out, you know, who I am and, you know, who I want to be, and that's hard, you know, when you're doing it under the microscope, but that's what drives me. I mean, that's how I just live my life and how I continue on, is because I feel like I'm ultimately on a journey of self-discovery myself, and, you know, I've been able to work in this occupation, and I feel nothing but grateful for it, and, you know, but I think indirectly it's kind of forced me in a way to deal with a lot of my own issues. You know, I really believe that I got to this point. I mean, I've been in this business for about 18 years, and I got to this point where I looked back on my career, and I saw this connection between the types of roles that came my way and, you know, the characters that I played and the things that I was going through in my own life personally, and how I was ready for those experiences and how they changed my life. And so I really believe, you know, that there's something a lot higher than us. I really believe that things happen for a reason. I believe that people are meant for certain roles, or things come your way, you know, when you're ready for them. You know, I've just kind of seen that mystery in action, and I think at a different time in my life I probably wouldn't have identified with Catherine. You know, I wouldn't have understood it. But, you know, it was something that I was ready for at the time, and you know, it's like, I feel like many times I'm only in control of so much, and then there's like something else kind of leading me. And, you know, even when I worked on American Beauty, I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I just was so young. I was literally thinking on set, I'm just happy to have a job and to be working with the people that I'm working with, because everybody was so fun and cool. But I had no concept of this business. I had no concept of me laying in roses was going to be this iconic image, and, you know, the sexuality that went along with it. It's like I was not capable of thinking like that at the time and that far, you know.
Right.
I just kind of went with it, and to me, I've always made sure that I put my heart and soul into everything that I work on, you know, and then I make sure that I'm happy to be where I'm at, and you know, and thankful for that.
Well, on a more practical level, tell me briefly about working with director John Irvin and what that was like.
I love John. I'm madly in love with John. I mean, I owe so much to him. When we had a premiere for this film in Rome, and I literally was bawling at the end of the movie, and just because, you know, it brought me back into what I went through filming the movie and playing Catherine, and just all of the things that I personally went through, and I just gave him this huge hug, and I was just thanking him for believing in me and, you know, carrying me through it. I mean, he supported me 110%, and I worked really hard to make sure that a lot of the language of the book was in the film, especially with my character. I worked really hard on that, and, you know, I felt like it was important. I felt like, you know, the words that Hemingway chose were chosen for a reason, and Catherine's a very smart woman, and she is aware of, you know, what she's saying and how she's saying it, and you know, John always, he had my back, you know, he always was there with me on set and carried me through every moment, and he's wonderful with actors, and he was so well versed in Hemingway. He had his little cap on every day on set, and he like looked like Hemingway, and we would call him Papa on set, you know, Papa Hemingway, because, you know, it was like he was there.
And so when you saw the first time you saw the film put together, did it exceed your expectations? What was your reaction?
I don't know. I mean, I don't look at it like that. It's hard for me because, you know, sometimes I'm paying attention to a million things, and I'm looking at all the things that the audience will never see. But you know, it's never been difficult for me to watch myself on screen. It's not like I can't stand it or I refuse to watch. I've always been able to dissociate and get involved in the story and get involved in my character. But I think it was challenging for me to watch the film because it was so personal. Because it was like literally I bared my soul, you know, working on this movie. And that's why, you know, to be here today, and, you know, we had our screening last night, and knowing that the film's coming out December 10th, and Roadside Attractions picked it up. I mean, all of these things, I mean, it got to the point where I thought this movie was never going to be seen, you know, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm so grateful that, you know, even it's a small movie and it's getting a small release, it's just, as an actor, I mean, that's if you feel like you've literally bared your soul in something and you've put everything into it, then, you know, it's nice to just be acknowledged for our work. You know, everyone, the cast and crew, everyone on this movie. We were all there for the passion of it. I mean, there was a moment where we almost had to shut down production, you know, and everybody was willing to do whatever they could to keep it going because, you know, we all had a huge meeting and we all said, you know, we're here because we want to be here.